Hey guys, welcome back. So now as we proceed with the Immortal Hulk, which is a series that just keeps the conversation going, because even when it slows down, there's still something happening, which at this point brings us to the reappearance of someone we have not seen in a very long time. And I'm excited, so let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so prior to this point, with Bruce Banner making the announcement to the world that it is over for everybody, and really everybody except for the women and children. But really, the funny part about that whole announcement is like, had he been somebody weaker, man, he would have been beat up, locked up a long time ago. But in this case, since this is the Immortal Hulk, it's not so much that scenario. But that won't necessarily prevent people from making their attempts. And as we know, in the forefront of people attempting to stop this, we have Dario Edgar, to whom for him, stopping the Hulk is only about the money. Because with Banner's announcement, he's used that to monetize the different media coverage, and he's even gone public as far as his identity being the Minotaur, but really only doing this as a public image to make himself appear as this powerful figure who will protect everyone, which again is just for show and for more publicity that he can monetize. But as far as Dario Edgar, he's not only working on the marketing and the business side, and make no mistake, that is his main priority. And it's much like when we talked about his run-ins with Weapon H, because even back then his main priority was stealing resources from other dimensions by way of making dealings with Malekith, to which some of those resources we do see returned here in the Immortal Hulk, and we'll talk about shortly. But even still, back with Weapon H, he just saw Weapon H as a resource that he could use in relation to Weird World and everything going on there with Morgan Le Fay. But so now what we find out, in addition to the business that Dario Edgar is handling, that he's also assembled a special team called the Berserker unit, who he's preparing to dispatch the next time that the Hulk shows up. And from what we've heard Banner say before, like Roxxon is one of the first people he's coming for. And mainly because his quote, destroying the world mission is more targeted towards those who are destroying the world themselves, in addition to those who are just making a profit off of that. And at this point, like, Banner is wasting no time at getting to the business, which brings us to Banner preparing with Dr. McGowan to translocate to one of the Roxxon server farms and pretty much take out the hardware which generates Roxxon's algorithms, which thinks for them and tells them where to make the money. And of course, heading here, the Hulk expects to run into some sort of resistance, to where at this point there are like 4 Berserker guards who are guarding the place, if that's what you want to call it, because once they go berserk, they're like fighting each other, because essentially the formula of their transformation makes them more beast than human. And they do have a bit of intelligence left in Berserker mode, but apparently not enough, because these guys think that they are on par with the Hulk, which is something I ain't even got to get that deep into, because these guys, who probably would have been formidable to like your general military, but in this case that doesn't even matter, because you're going up against the Hulk. And it's like, you can tell that Dario Edgar has gassed these guys, because they even believe that they're just as strong as the Hulk. So because they don't know any better, like, they heart pumping Kool-Aid right now. And that's all fine and dandy until you actually run into the Immortal Hulk and he starts going down the line, just knocking out you and your buddies. But just to give you guys a bit of background about the Berserker team, these guys are juiced up with the same dragon's blood which Dario Edgar had got from Loki back in the War of Realms. And this isn't necessarily the first time that we've seen this, because we also seen it put to use back in Weapon H when he crossed over to Weird World, to where at the time we had saw earlier implementations of Dario Edgar trying to use this dragon's blood to try to create his version of a super soldier. And back then the results were much wilder than what we've seen it result to here, with at this point him trying to make it more Hulk-like, but even with doing so, yet and still, it was just another failed attempt. But with the Hulk just running through these guys in a matter of minutes, and in the process pretty much multitasking and destroying the Roxxon servers, this then takes much of Roxxon's business offline, they lose a lot of money, and from here they're forced to find another way to adjust. But in addition to this, when Dr. McGowan calls for the Hulk to return back to Shadow Base and urging him to do it quickly because it'll be sunrise soon, but even with hearing this, the Hulk doesn't rush back, because at this point he expresses that Banner is helping him to resist the sunlight so he can stay out in the daytime, which actually brings the idea to mind, like with Banner helping the Hulk and giving him this additional edge, like this could be the beginning of eliminating weaknesses for the Hulk altogether. But I only see it working with Banner working together with the Hulk, which is exactly what's happening right now, which makes him super dangerous. But so now with Dario Edgar, like, one of the things that really gets to him, like, it's not just the fact that the Hulk is hurting his business, and that's still his #1 priority because the business brings him money, but in addition to that, at this point he's a bit jealous because your demographic between the age of 12 and 18, like, these kids, they love the Hulk. And when it comes to picking sides between Dario Edgar, the face of Roxxon Corp, and the Hulk who smashes everything, like the kids are picking the Hulk every time. So with Dario looking for solutions to this and relying on his team to come up with those ideas, they're not necessarily productive in doing this because they're terrified of the guy. And as a result, most of the time, they just end up saying yes to every little thing he says, which obviously pisses him off even more, and even to the point to where he just snaps on one of the guys like, hey, like it wouldn't kill you to correct me every now and then. But fast forward way later, like it actually did kill him because he corrected Dario and he died. So it did kill him. So technically Dario was wrong again. But I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just thinking out loud. But so now from here, we jump over to a security guard who's working security for Roxxon Corp. And as we follow him, we see some of the effects in his life with his teenage daughter, who's a huge Hulk fan. And to him, like when he looks at her, in his mind, he thinks like the devil has gotten into her, to whom we know is like your analogy to the devil Hulk. But for this guy who runs into this issue at home, and he's dealing with the whole idea of like he's lost his daughter, she's a complete Hulk fan now, she's dyed her hair green. And it's like you take that and put it in the addition of him dealing with the trouble at his job, because people are coming to Roxxon Corp, and not even so much people, but like these are kids, and they fall into that 18 under demographic, to where many of them land between your 12 to 18 age group. And as a security officer, it's his job to make sure that they don't cross a certain line and that he doesn't like catch them in the act of vandalism, which in this case he doesn't, but he does sort of freak out, because at one point he does recognize one of the people in the crowd with her blue eyes, her eyebrow piercing, her dyed green hair. But even with doing so, like this dude is like freaking out, mainly from being overwhelmed by the crowd, which still is no excuse. Like this guy shouldn't have a firearm, like he needs help. But with him essentially freaking out, he points the firearm at the little girl, squeezes the trigger, and the Hulk lands there just in time to save that little girl's life. And it's like for that guard, with everything that was running through his mind, like for one, he was thinking like, that isn't my child, these are all the devil's children and they're all a threat. But when the Hulk shows up, he realizes that this quote devil takes care of his own, and the Hulk lets him know like, the human world is over, like you on planet Hulk now. But it's like with seeing this, like in a nutshell, this is like summarizing that faint, questionable line that the Hulk is crossing. Because when the Hulk goes to grab this dude, he's looking at his daughter like, why won't you save me? And she's just standing there looking like, yo, you almost shot me, my guy. And with him, it's like he symbolizes what this world could be. Because prior to this, he was essentially a good father, and his daughter, she loved him, she named her first son after him, but because of his fear, he almost did the unthinkable. And it's then that the Hulk grabs him, and he probably just threw him to Asgard, like I don't know. But so now going back to Dario Edgar, this is where we get the twist. Because one, we discover one of Dario Edgar's few living advisors. We actually find out that this guy's responsible for the Hulk masks that everyone's wearing, which were deliberately made cheap in order to maximize profits so everybody can get one. And I think they cost like 9 cents to make, but they were selling them for like $3. But when he showed this to Dario Edgar, this then gave him the idea of the solution to defeating his Hulk issue, which then immediately causes Dario Edgar to head over to Monster Island, which I believe has been deserted since like Venomized. And I could be wrong, there could have been more things that popped off since then. I really don't keep up with Monsters Island. But essentially when Dario Edgar arrives here and his assistant's like it's not safe, and Dario lets him know that he's good, that this place is pretty much deserted. But it's here where we find out that Dario Edgar has come here to find Xemnu, who, as far as comic book publications go, this guy has been the Hulk longer than Bruce Banner. But this is why Dario Edgar has come here to Monsters Island, because he's searching for a Hulk to go against the Hulk. And I ain't gonna front, like I'm excited to see Xemnu get like a Marvel Legacy upgrade, if you will, because I'm curious to know how exactly the history with Xemnu ties into everything new that we're getting with the Immortal Hulk. Because at the end of the day, that could be a really crazy twist if done right, because there's a lot of room in his backstory that they can play with and do this. And just to let you guys know, I did an in-depth video about Xemnu, and I got a link to that down in the description so you can check it out. And I think that video is like at 500,000 views now, like it's crazy. So definitely check that out if you want to know more about his backstory before we go forward and see exactly how he plays into the future issues of the Immortal Hulk. And before we go, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. I really can't thank you guys enough. And there's guys on here like Kels, Kevin, Clinton, Patrick, David, Salmon, who have been contributing for like years. And also Kyrus, who's like at that 1.5 year point. But overall, thank you to everyone across the board, because the help is very much appreciated, especially with some of the changes that YouTube has us dancing through every now and then. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let me know how you feel about the return of Xemnu. Are you excited? Do you want to see get like an upgrade like the other Hulks? Which I gotta say, like, if they do take that route, they could fill in the gap about his history before his cybernetics and really just give him a legit untold backstory. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.